Brother Joseph's flag. During the troublous years before the Civil War, there was born in Vermont a boy named Ira Dutton. His father was a village shoemaker and his mother a village schoolteacher. We know very little of his early life, only that as a young man he served a few years in the Union Army and then got married. But misfortune seemed to overshadow him, and his marriage broke up. Hoping to find peace for his troubled heart, he entered a monastery in Gethsemane, Kentucky. But still he found no peace. So, after a few months, he found himself in the year 1887 in New Orleans looking for work. One evening, while there, he picked up a magazine, and in it he found a story of the great heroic missionary, Father Damien, who had been living among the unfortunate lepers on the island of Molokai, Hawaii, for 15 years. It told how this energetic little Belgian had gone to Honolulu as a missionary when he was about 30 years old. It told how a few years later, in 1873, he had volunteered for service among the lepers, knowing full well he would have to spend the rest of his life there. It told how Damien brought hope and happiness to the poor lepers, how he helped them build better houses to live in, how he brought water in pipes from a nearby valley so that there was water enough for everyone to bathe and be clean. It told how he used what few medicine were available in those days to alleviate the pain and overcome the awful stench of putrefying sores. Then it told how after 10 or 11 full years he stood before his congregation one day, and instead of saying, "My brethren," he said, "We lepers." The story told of the rapid progress of the horrible disease. Till now Father Damien could no longer walk and was only able to move about his parish on a homemade tricycle. As Ira Dutton read this story his eyes filled with tears and his heart beat fast with wild emotion. "Father Damien will soon die," he said aloud to himself, "and someone must take his place. Why should it not be me? Why not?" And so it was that a few months later he was on a steamer sailing out of the Golden Gate for Hawaii. And so it was that several days later Father Damien worked his painful way on his tricycle to a place where he could see the arrival of the little steamer from Honolulu that usually stayed just long enough to throw onto the landing a few supplies and a mail bag. But this time it seemed to be unloading some luggage, and the passenger, a tall young fellow, birded like a prophet. Why, it looked as if this stranger had come to stay. He had, for this was Ira Dutton, and he stayed 44 years. On Molokai they called him Brother Joseph, and soon he worked his way into the heart of everyone in the leper colony. He lovingly nursed Father Damien through his last illness and buried him there on the island less than a year after his arrival. Then Brother Joseph carried on in his place, ministering comfort, hope, and peace to every needy one. Brother Joseph never saw his native country again, but according to the pages of his diaries, there was never a day during his 44 years of service that he was not homesick. One of the first things he did after his arrival was to erect a flagpole at a place where his flag, the Stars and Stripes, could be seen far out to sea. He loved to tell the leper boys about his country and his flag, but he would not permit anyone else to touch his flag. He ran it up every morning. He took it down every evening, and the old timers say that they could see a tender love shining on his face as he folded his flag and held it close to his heart each night. Slowly the years went by, 20 of them. Then, in 1908, Brother Joseph read in the newspaper and in the letters that came from the homeland that the great American fleet was going around the world on a goodwill tour, and it was going to stop on its way at Honolulu. And Brother Joseph was beside himself with excitement. "It might come close enough to Molokai for us to see it," he said to his leper boys, and every morning as he pulled up Old Glory to the top of the pole, he would stand gazing out to sea. And every night as he put down Old Glory, he would pray that maybe tomorrow they could see the great white ships of the American Navy going by. Now, at this time, Theodore Roosevelt was the President of the United States, and in some way one of his friends got to hear about Brother Joseph's burning desire to have the great American fleet go sailing by close enough to Molokai so that he and the leper boys could see the glorious sight. The friend sent a letter to the President telling him about Brother Joseph's daily prayer. The heroic life and the undying patriotism of the courageous old missionary touched the President's heart. But what could he do? The fleet was already in Honolulu and was due to depart at any moment, and it was not scheduled to go anywhere near Molokai. However, he cabled the admiral in Honolulu immediately and fortunately was able to contact him just in time. He told the admiral the circumstances, then he said, "So I want you to sail by Molokai close enough for Brother Joseph and the lepers to see the fleet." And so it happened that one morning as Brother Joseph pulled up Old Glory to the top of the flagpole and stood gazing out to sea, that he saw smoke on the horizon. It came closer and closer. There was more smoke and more smoke. Then under the smoke the forms of the big white ships of the American fleet took shape, and the great American navy came sailing by. Oh, what joy! Oh, what excitement! But the great American navy did more than just sail by. As the great ships came directly in front of Brother Joseph's flag, flying gloriously in the sunshine, each one dipped its colors in salute. Was ever a man or a flag more honored?